is Abubakarr Jalloh. I'm a civil engineer major. This is my second year in City Tech. Then this is my poster.
Okay.
Poster question is how can students use real problems to improve their knowledge in statics? So many students enter static one class thinking of it as another box to check off their list of requirements. They believe that the material covered is not something that they will ever use in their career or life. As a peer leader, a major goal for students to see how the material is used in their field.
I want you to tell me, in your process, how did you start this poster?
So I started this poster looking at the Perry's theory.
First the theory?
Yeah, first the theory.
Why did that interest you?
The theory interested me because of the developmental stages.
Okay.
So I want to know how the static student in my workshop thinks.
Okay, why did that interest you? I mean, why did that resonate with you? Why that theory, not any other theory?
Why this theory? Because I think that static student, because I took statics during the summer, I feel like most static students think like, most static student thinks straightforward, which is like if the professor says this, they have to follow this. So I wrote this poster.
So you had observed that in your own class?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I decided to use Perry's theory to see if students can think differently other than the dualistic stage.
Okay. And so what did you find out besides about Perry's theory and how it was used? What kind of literature did you find that was empirical?
It was I found her theory, Schomer's theory.
Schomer's theory, okay.
Which is basically the epistemological beliefs, theories such as, let me just put this into my own voice, which is the multidimensional and the independent. So she believed in the quick learning, which is the quick learning is a simple belief that knowledge is gained quickly, and the sophisticated learning, which is understanding that knowledge is acquired gradually.
Okay. So you're suggesting that a lot of students fall into the trap of they just have to learn it quickly and it's over?
Yep.
And they don't go any further?
Yep.
Good. So what were your observations?
My observation was I have 7 students, and 4 students was less experienced.
Okay.
And 3 students was more experienced.
Okay. And these were all males?
Yeah, all males.
Okay.
So what I found is the 4 student, the less experienced student, depend on their professor. Whatever he says in lecture, they believe that the formula is always right.
Okay. Which certainly works with Perry's theory.
Yep.
Okay.
And the other 3 students, which is more experienced, they do believe that the formula is right and sometimes disagree with the formula.
Okay. So they've learned to question.
Yep.
Okay. And you would say that's based on what with those 3 experienced students? What's their experience?
Yeah. Can you repeat that?
What was the other 3 students? Why do you think there was a difference?
The other 3 students, because they are more experienced. They are more experienced in the knowledge of construction. Okay. Yeah, construction knowledge, and they might have work on a construction site.
Okay, so real life experience.
Yeah, real life experience
suggests that it's not always what's in the textbook.
Yep.
Okay. So, you did what?
So, after writing the observations, I took the Perry's theory, and then I compared it, and I found out that the 4 less experienced student, they're on the first stage, which is the dualism stage.
Okay.
And then the other 3 students, the more experienced student, they're on the multiplicity stage,
Okay.
which is they believe the problem is solvable, and in the so it's a 2. They believe the problem is solvable, and then kind of like disagree with the problem.
Okay. Do you think their stage is multiplicity or relativism?
Multiplicity.
Okay.
Multiplicity.
So they haven't gone that far away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I believe they.
Because they're kind of new students, even though they have experience in real life.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And then, so what do you conclude?
My conclusion is the use of real-life problem can help students understand.
Okay.
Can help them understand gradually as they go along the code. And
So having a mix of less experience and more experience is definitely helpful, at least in statics, right? Okay.
improve their understanding.
Okay, and so how do we get the 4 students to move up fast?
I would get the 4 students to move over fast.
How do we get them to gain from the experience of the more experienced?
What I did, maybe ask for feedback.
Okay.
Ask feedback from the 3 more experienced students. They might think differently.
Okay.
Differently if they get an opinion from the experienced student.
Okay. So feedback as a mechanism, but also I would guess discussion,
Yeah.
making different groups maybe. So what would you tell other peer leaders? What would you advise them in terms of how to get students to move from one stage to another?
I would advise peer leaders to use, first of all, to use a real life problem.
Okay.
Because if you use a real life problem, which is an open-ended problem, so they will have to agree and disagree with you,
Okay.
which makes them to think differently.
Okay, so just it leads to discussion,
Yeah.
which is important for workshop. Okay. How was the process of doing this poster?
It was tedious.
Tedious?
Yeah.
What was the hardest part?
The hardest part was the observations.
Was the observations?
Was the observations.
Okay, why?
Because the observations, if you miss something on the observation, then you're not taking note in the observation, you cannot link it with the literature.
Okay. Okay. So it wasn't really putting the literature together.
No.
Okay. Do you think writing your journals would have helped?
Writing a journal, yep.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but despite good advice,
A good advice. Or writing a poster.
different.
First of all, do your observations.
Okay.
Second of all, get your research papers. Example,
The literature.
The literature review. And third of all, don't fall behind.
Always good advice, right?
Don't fall behind. Don't do it the night before it's due.
Right.
Do it at least a week before, because I started this poster and thinking I would be the last student to finish it. And then I was surprised to be the first one to finish it, which is amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Would you do another poster?
Yep.
This is the beginning of many posters,
The
right?
beginning of many posters.
And papers.
Yeah. And take it easy. Take it step by step.
Okay.
Don't jump from one exam. Don't go to the conclusion. Then come back to the observation. Just like take a step.
You really have to do it in a sequence, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.